Joining us now is Breitbart News economist and finance editor John Carney. John, good to see you. Off the stairs and in the chair. So how does this play out nationally? You have employees that want more money and companies are paying less.
Right. Well, so this is a dynamic that happens when you've had a lot of inflation. People want more money because their money is going a lot fewer places. They can't spend it. It doesn't buy what it used to, so they want a lot more money. Employers, though, are squeezed because all their supplies are more expensive. Their existing employees have been demanding more. And if you look at the productivity numbers, those aren't great right now. The productivity numbers have been pretty low. So employers are saying, well, I don't know whether these guys I'm hiring on are really worth it right now.
You lazy jackasses, you're not getting paid as much as we were paying you.
And so I think this is going to be a dynamic in the economy that's going to happen for quite a while, where we're going to have this push and pull between workers and employers for quite some time.
It's good for inflation, though, is it not? Because we talked about this last time you were on. You don't want that wage price spiral, which causes inflation to get out of hand.
Right. If employers really are backing off of these big wage increases that they were giving, that does mean that we'll probably start to get some inflation under control.
Yeah. Let's move on to this, because despite the Supreme Court ruling against President Biden's original student loan bailout scheme, that's not standing in his way, or the administration's way, of wasting billions more in taxpayer dollars with a new bailout plan. It's called SAVE, and it could cost roughly $475 billion. $475 billion, with $200 billion of that going to already outstanding loans and another $275 billion in new loans over the next 10 years. So it looks like the SAVE program isn't going to do much saving. John, what does this also do for inflation?
Well, I'll guarantee you that $475 billion estimate is an underestimate. It's going to cost more than that. Whenever you see a government estimate of how much a program costs, just at least increase it 20%. So let's call it $500 billion of giveaways that they're doing here. This is going to contribute to inflation. One of the reasons people thought inflation was going to come down was because student loans were going to come back online. People were going to have to repay them. This is going to allow a lot of student loans not to get repaid, which means that people have more spending power, that sounds great, right? Yes, I'll have some more money. I don't have to pay my student loans off.
No.
But it's just going to push up the prices. You know who's going to get rich off of this? If you're a landlord in a college town. Because you know what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, well, look, you now have some extra money. You are going to pay that money to me as the landlord, and that's the biggest beneficiary. It's not really the people who are getting their loans forgiven.
So this is just they're rejiggering the repayment plans.
Yes.
Because the interest starts accruing again at September 1, and then the repayments
right. And it doesn't really start, by the way, even apart from the SAVE program, it's not really starting September 1. They have a whole thing where they're going to not count it against you if you don't make payments for the first year. So what does that mean? A lot of people aren't going to make payments for the first year. That might not be terrible economically, because there was this wall, like, oh no, people are going to have to start repaying. What's that going to do to sales and retail sales? That's not going to happen anymore. It's going to trickle in over time.
Let's be clear, this is bad economics, but also Joe Biden is just trying to buy votes.
Yep.
If you want to address the problem, go to the universities. They charge too much. Taxpayers shouldn't pay for this.
The other problem is that when we do this, it actually encourages all the abuse of universities jacking up prices for positions where people aren't getting jobs that then they can repay their loans.
Yeah.
And this just encourages them, because it says, okay, it's okay that you do that. We're just going to forgive the loan.
Rich people got a $419 billion bailout already by not making payments on their loans the last 3.5 years, no interest accruing, and then you're inflating away the debt by inflation rate. It's insane, and 2/3 of Americans don't have a college degree, and they've been actively screwed over by Joe Biden.
And they get nothing from this. If you didn't go to college, you get nothing.
Nothing.
And one of the other things is if you did go to college and you have a high income, you get nothing from this. So, and look, I'm not saying we have to be all that sympathetic to people who graduate from college and earn a lot of money, but I am saying that it does create some perverse incentives where if you have low income, you end up escaping your student debt without having to repay it.
Yeah, let's get a take on this.
All right. Biden and his administration are taking action on oil and gas restrictions, and they're saying save the whales. But at the same time, the push for offshore wind development continues on, potentially hurting the ocean life along the East Coast. So no drilling, or they're cracking down in the Gulf. Oh, the whales, but not in the Atlantic.
Look, the Biden administration will come up with any excuse to prevent us from taking oil out of the ground, right? They're like, oh, well, this time it's the whales. You can't pay any attention to the actual excuse. Pay attention to what it's really doing, which is less energy production in the U.S. You're right, by the way. These wind farms that they're building out at sea do interfere. If you ask a fisherman anywhere where they've put these things in, whether it's right here across the river in New Jersey, the New Jersey fishermen are up in arms. Up in Maine, they're up in arms about this because it is definitely interfering with the sea life. They're going to put these things in, and it will interfere with the sea life of the Gulf of Mexico as well.
No doubt. John Carney, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Somebody put one in front of his Rehoboth beach house.
That would be fun.
Thank you, John.